Hello everyone! Another limited edition, another unboxing, another one from Nippon-ichi Software. Thank you very much as always for sending it over. What is it? I'll better get the plastic wrapping off. At first, when I heard about the game, I wasn't that taken with the idea of covering it because the gameplay isn't exactly in my usual comfort zone. But then I heard that the game is the brainchild of the creator of the Disgaea series. Well, you know me and Disgaea. Wild horses wouldn't keep me away. Who is the creator of Disgaea? Sohei Niikawa. And there is a very interesting interview with Mr. Niikawa on the Nook Gaming website. As always, I'll put the link in the description below. If you're interested, it's a great read. He explains, among other things, his connection with NIS, Nippon-ichi Software, and how he left to set up his own small company called Super Niche. And in fact, the three developers who are credited with making this game are Broccoli, a well-known name for JRPG enthusiasts, Gem Drops, a small outfit who have in recent years worked on quite a few titles that we have all taken notice of, and finally Super Niche. That's the three. Publisher, of course, is NIS America.
Great Galactica Tornado Dynamite Special Macaron!
Sweets and treats play a big role in this game. So what's with that word étrange? I'm just going to explain because I've heard quite a few people online being confused by it. It's French and it means strange. There were some people who thought it would be stranger, the noun, the person a stranger, but that's not the case. This is the adjective of the French word étrange. Our protagonist is simply called Etrange. And I will just show you why I think that is such a brilliant pick of a name. From the beginning of the game, the introduction, I will just show you this clip and explain why Etrange is the perfect name for this lady. This is the equivalent of an easy mode, the only option in the game to adjust difficulty. Let's take a look at the very opening scene, very somber, to give you an idea what the background and setting are.
エーデルシュタイン王国第一王子にそう言い渡された私ことエトランジュ・フォン・ローゼンブルク公爵令嬢は一方的に婚約破棄された挙句に希代の悪女として処刑された。
And down came the guillotine. Not an auspicious start for any protagonist. Let's see how Lady Etrange von Rosenberg copes. Here we see the character design for the first time, and I think it's very appealing. It looks lovely. Yes, it all must seem very strange to Lady Etrange.
私は確か処刑されたはずですわよね。それが一体全体、これはどういうことかしら。
また地獄に悪人が落ちてきやがったぜ。
These guys must be looking very strange to Lady Etrange. I think you get by now what I'm driving at, which is that Etrange is such a perfect fitting name for what turns out to be a very iron-willed human that these demons are facing. There are two very distinct sides to Etrange's personality, and it is this that makes the game so intriguing for how the story plays out.
希代の悪女、そんな風に呼ばれたら私だって時には傷つくことだってある。でも絶対に負けない。私はエトランジュフォンローゼンブルグ公爵連長だから。
As it turns out, the demons will find Lady Etrange probably even stranger than she does them. And the Japanese voice acting is excellent throughout. It's pitiful watching the demons. They are simply no match for Lady Etrange. They are intent on fighting her, so let's have a look at the very first, well, we can hardly call it a battle.
さあ、行きますわよ。へい、やはー。いってー。何しやがれ。何と言われましても。
覚悟しやがれ。
ですわね。ああ、早く紅茶とスイーツで一息つきたいものですわ。あれ？まさかないなんてことはないわよね。もしも紅茶、それこそ地獄ですわ。
I want to take a comparison look at the Switch version, the same scene right now, and you'll see why in a moment.
ここ。
It's also an opportunity to check the graphics, and I think they look fine on the Switch. This art style certainly usually works rather well on the Switch. So now let's have a look at that very first battle again, this time on the Switch. And I was utterly surprised to find that when battle started, you're thrown straight into it, but there is no pop-up explanation of the basic attack commands like there was on the PS5. Now, fortunately, it is very obvious and straightforward. You really only need the two buttons, your action button and your dodge dash button. But still, I found this omission rather strange. Any subsequent combat commands are special ones and are explained, and they are always shown on screen. I checked the tutorial pages later, and there is no mention of any of these basic attack commands anywhere. However, I did in the end find the controls listed, but in an unexpected spot. While I was preparing in the setup screen for a mission, I happened to wander over to the controls section, and there they are. For a quick reminder check, that is not a bad spot. but I think having them on the screen right at the start of battle, as happens on the PS5, is really preferable. It's a small user interface issue that may or may not be annoying. So now that you know what the setting is and what the story is about, it'll be a lot easier talking about it. So here is the Switch edition, and there's only one Switch edition. There's no separate Switch 2 edition. So as you probably noticed, the clip I recorded, I played on my PS5 because they have a demo there. While I was waiting for this box, I played the demo. It's a generous one. You can play at least 2 hours, but more if you want. And it gives you a really good idea of how the game works and, get a good feel for it. So if you're at all interested, I really recommend playing the demo. I think it's available on the Switch eShop too. I'll check that. So here's the Switch game. And it's the deluxe edition, which means there's a digital soundtrack included with a track list of 11 tracks. And a little mini art book, as they do these days with these deluxe editions. I won't look at that mini art book because I've got the full-size hardback one here. And we'll dive into that in a moment. Etrange Encore original soundtrack, and there are 16 tracks on this disc. So the selection you get with the digital version is quite generous with 11 tracks, I think. So you know how I like to complain about these things, but I can't really complain here. The marketing for this game made a bit of a thing of it being a musical JRPG. I misunderstood that at first and thought it might be a music rhythm game, but that is not the case. And I'll be able to show you a short little clip with one of the musical numbers. The music is an absolute delight in this game. I don't skip any of it. You can see that the graphics in handheld mode are not as sharp as in docked mode. It runs as usual at 30 frames per second, in docked mode at 60 frames. But the music sounds really good in handheld mode too, I think. I think it's quite nice to have these numbers interspersed, almost like a musical. They are relatively short and very pleasant, a bit like the suites that Etrange is so very fond of. So a nicely presented soundtrack. There's also a vinyl sticker sheet called Stuck in Hell. And as I always say, every limited edition should have something extra, a kind of bonus item on top of the soundtrack and the art book and the game. And here we have it, Conductor of Chaos. Yes, an acrylic stand. I like how they've got a separate, nicely designed special box just for the acrylic stand. Attention to detail. I always say that. It is so important. It tells you something about how they value their own work and how they want to show it to the world. A USB cable. We can plug in the bass. I will do that in a moment. And here we have Etrange. I don't have a convenient USB plug-in point here near this table in the lounge, so I will do that on my computer desk and I will try and capture the effect. Guys, this is just awesome. If you've been watching my unboxings for some time now, years, you will know I've forgotten to do one thing. Check the cardboard quality. Oh yes. I'm happy to say it's the usual NIS quality. That cardboard does not cave in. From Hell to Heaven, an art book with 36 pages, very nicely presented with dark purple on the inside. The finish is reasonably glossy, but I wouldn't call it high gloss. I will need to check in case there are any spoilers. There is a warning, but really most of the information is background setting and what you will find in the first part of the introduction of the game. So Etrange is the heiress to the House Rosenberg and a dark arts practitioner. She is falsely accused of plotting a royal assassination, as we have seen, and executed, and winds up in hell. A stranger to hell, but also a very strange apparition for the denizens of hell. Here we see a side to Etrange that shows us why the demons of hell in fact fear her like the devil. Etrange casts a cool and analytic eye over everything. She doesn't accept the status quo set by precedent and tradition. She applies her own logic and triumphs. We are now introduced to Macaron, our base for all operations. As usual in JRPGs, kitted out with various facilities that are added to over the course of the game. It's a pleasure navigating the user interface and the various facilities of the game. Everything is presented appealingly and is easy to use. We have several pages of the various demons who assist her being shown. One of my favourites is Catsmith. Catsmith cutely swipes at the enemies and has actually quite a good reach. Here is Etrange's personal maid, Sweetia. Now, if you're looking at these character designs and thinking, There's something familiar about this art style. If you watch anime, you probably will recognise the illustrator from Re:Zero, Starting Life in Another World, Shinichiro Otsuka. A very popular anime. We have watched it all the way through. We were absolutely gripped. And the character designs, of course, were one crucial element in the popularity of this anime. Then there is a section with the world concepts. The stage settings are, of course, very important. And I definitely enjoy the world and the overworld in Etrange Overlord. Trundling about in your vehicle there never really gets old, especially since you can drive over stuff and it just sort of pops out of the way. Who doesn't love smashing through big rocks with a very big vehicle? You can get to those all-important materials that way. While it's fun, it can also turn into a little bit of a chore at times. And that's the end page.
罪悪感がゼロの人間だとそんな人間が存在してたまるものか
Hell and its concepts simply do not work on Etrange.
ところがどっこい。これこの通り存在するのですわ。
Battles have quickly developed into swirling, brawling affairs. The game does offer a lot of help with tips, but you gotta be a very quick reader during battle. There are traps and obstacles, but also a sushi lane that offers a constant supply of healing and attack items, like bombs you can throw. Then there comes the big warning sign for the boss at the end. Bosses come with all sorts of interesting problems. This guy has a special barrier, and as you can see, the special attack does absolutely no damage. There is one impressive boss fight early on against this golem creature.
どうだい？これは僕の最高傑作。さあ、勝負。
We have a similar situation in that his defences seem impregnable. All my attacks simply do not do any damage whatsoever, and I got a game over,
やれやれ。
which then fortunately supplied me with the answer to what was probably not that difficult to work out for many gamers who play this type of combat more than I do. I hadn't watched his legs closely enough. And once you know about this weakness, defeating him is literally a matter of seconds. Oof, I felt a bit deflated after that. The only tricky issue during these chaotic battles, for me at least, has been the camera. You can freeze all motion by pressing the D-pad button. You need to keep holding it while rotating the right stick around. It is awkward, and because the battleground is quite a confined area, you can't always see everything. I really missed not being able to lock on to the boss. Locating the boss and then getting there took up too much time, but I guess I'm just not nimble enough. You can use the left shoulder button to reorient the camera for your character, but I sometimes don't remember to do that. I had expected a fun, humorous game with fast-paced combat that doesn't outstay its welcome, a well-designed world and characters, all bundled into the shorter format of a roughly 20-hour game. And that expectation was met. What I hadn't expected and what surprised me was the story. There's a real story here with quite some depth. And from my point of view as a JRPG player, it is the main reason why I'm impatient to get to the ending. A lot of it has to do, no doubt, with the fact that Etrange is not a cardboard or one-sided character. And the basic theme of what really defines good and evil, how do we humans act depending on the environment we are cast into, well, I think that will always be a topic of fascination. Whether the combat will hold my interest nearer the end, especially if there's some grinding involved, I cannot say, but I think they have been wise to limit combat encounters to fast, mad rushes of energy. The world and its story is further enhanced by side stories, which you can unlock and play, if you so wish, on the Overworld. They are, like everything else, well written and well presented.
そうだ。
器の中を満たした真っ赤なスープがこの時点でしみるような強烈スープの中には細めの縮れ麺。
これは人気激辛料理特製地獄ラーメンであります。お気に召されること受けあり。
And the music really is a cherry on the top. Whether you will like the game will come down very much, I think, to the style of the battles. And there's no better way to figure that out than to simply try the demo. I'm really glad I decided to give this game a try after all. And if you decide to pick it up, I hope you also have an enjoyable and relaxing time with it. It's the kind of game to really put a big smile on your face.
ねえだろ。
これまで以上にやりたい。
I have now completed half the map. There's more work to be done, with new features being added all the time which need upgrading. And I expect it'll get a bit more difficult from now on, so I need to knuckle down. And that was it. Etrange Overlord. I hope you enjoyed this unboxing. Let me know if you're going to try out the demo and maybe even pick up the game. As always, thank you very much for joining me. Please keep well. I'm Food for Dogs. Bye-bye.
私はまだまだ自由にやりたい放題して私は誇り高きエトランジュフォンローゼンブルク公爵レイジャー仲間たちのためにも地獄の魔王には力ずくでも快適でスイーツでやりたい放題なハッピーライフを約束